In this video, we will quickly discuss about next generation firewall. Especially we have a Palo Alto firewall. Now, next generation firewall do the same thing which traditional firewall do. However, it's add extra features. One of them is next generation IPS feature. Also, this next generation firewall provide you a key feature which we call them app ID, user ID, content ID, and extra is do deep packet inspection of the traffic. So that's why it's different than the traditional firewalls. And this next generation firewall coming under the third generation firewall technology. So next generation firewall can allow and block traffic based on specific application. If you have a Facebook and you want to allow the Facebook, but you don't want to allow Facebook chat, so you can use next generation firewall to allow the Facebook, but not the Facebook chat. Traditional firewall cannot do such things. It will block or allow the entire Facebook. That's it. So this why it's different than the traditional firewall. Also, you can allow the traffic based on user and groups. Maybe you want to say that if user 1 can go to Facebook but not user 2. In traditional firewall, you can only put IP addresses. Even though in next generation firewall, you can put IP addresses as well. As I say, next generation firewall can play the role of traditional plus extra features. And I say 4 different things. App ID, content ID, user ID, and deep packet inspection. So it's distinguished from the traditional firewall based on the user information as well. And also they will do all these things with high performance and processing to protect your thing all at once. So that's why it's different than the other firewall. This is deep packet inspection to check inside the packet what's going on by pattern matching, by any other signature database, by classification, by decoding. They can use different way to identify what is inside the packet. So that's why it's different. The first distinguished thing is app ID, means application identification, which I give an example of Google suppose. So we have a Google, we have Google Cloud, we have Google Drive, we have Google Docs. We have many things in Google's. So if you want to allow the Google search engine, but not to allow Google Documents or Google Drive, so you can use app ID. They will see the inside that yes, you are going to Google, it's okay. But if you try to go to Google Drive, it will be blocked based on the application identification, which we will do later in the course in detail, but this is just the main point of next generation firewall. Second is content ID, means we call them scan contents. Contents, the traffic which is going, and ID means identification. They will check inside the data for different things, for vulnerabilities, IPS, for viruses, for spyware, many things you can use, or URL filtering to see and scan them. Like you are going out from the airport and they will check you, they will scan you for anything. Similarly, we can use content ID in the next generation firewall to scan the data. And then finally, another distinguished feature of next generation is user ID, user identification. Now you can integrate Active Directory, LDAP, or anything with this firewall, and based on the user, you can allow and deny the traffic. Based on the group, you can allow and deny the traffic. You can say that if this user, this group can go to here, they are allowed to access these resources, but not this group. So this is another distinguished feature of next generation firewall. Traditional firewall, you need to put IP addresses to allowed by source IP, by destination IP, by source port, by destination port. But here you can do it by app ID, by user ID, and you can scan the detail as well. So app ID is the main component of next generation firewall. And I give an example. They will check the application inside, they will decode them, they will use different techniques to identify the inside packet is the chat, Facebook contents, Facebook videos, Facebook audio, Facebook posting, or maybe it's the main website Facebook. So you can use application identification. And also, like if you have a traditional firewall and you change the port hopping. Suppose you give 53 to BitTorrent, so they can access traditional firewall because port 53 is allowed. Maybe port 80 is allowed and you change them to port 80. Because traditional firewall, you just say that allowed this port. So you done port hopping and you easily pass the traditional firewall. But in the case of next generation firewall, they will say no. Because we identify the traffic pattern, it is not DNS traffic, it is BitTorrent, and they will block them. So this is also another feature of next generation firewall. Then we have a content ID. Okay. So content, they will check for range of thread. So when the data is transferring, so what they will do, they will check for the different thread for URL filtering, for vulnerability, for viruses, for spyware. There are many profiles which you can attach and you can check at once. So this is another feature of next generation firewall. And finally, which we discussed was the user ID. Based on the user, okay, you can integrate your firewall to the LDAP or Active Directory or Radius through any method. And what you will do, you can create your firewall policy based on the user in groups. And you can allow and deny based on the user. So if the IP is changed, so it's okay. Because you allowed the traffic based on the user and group rather than source IP. Source IP can be changed. And anybody can modify their IP and they can change their IP, it will be allowed. But based on the user, no. So that's why we need such type of feature in today's world. Okay, that's it. This was just introduction to next generation firewall and the major difference in traditional firewall and next generation firewall.